What a protest, and I always love that Bob Katter is willing to put the plums and go as hard as he can, fire up for the issues that matter, and I love. He went dressed as the Grim Reaper out the front of Parliament today, but what was the reason for it? He joins us now from Brisbane. Mr Katter, lovely to see you again. Bob, how are you?
God bless all the listeners.
So, why did we decide to dress up as the Grim Reaper, and whom has been killed off?
We have failed totally, people like myself, to get the message through to the Australian people that you have no industry left. You know, your fridges were made in Australia, now they're not. Your stoves, your washing machines, all of your household appliances were made in Australia 30 or 40 years ago. Now they're all imported from overseas. Well, there's a bit of a problem here. If you want to buy your motor cars and your petrol and all your household appliances and everything else from overseas, you've got to sell something. And you have nothing to sell now. You don't have mining. Mining is, well, you dig it out of the ground and sell a metal. We dig it out of the ground and sell the ground. That's called quarrying, the most primitive of occupations. Now, that's what our country's been reduced to. And I chose the motor cars to make a stand. It's not in my electorate, the motor vehicle industry. But I remember vividly my father. He tried to buy the first Holden in Queensland and I think he bought the 200th or something. But he kept walking around saying, we Australians built this motor car. We Australians built this motor car. And every Australian is a patriot and he's trying to climb out. But when you have a country that rams down a free market, brainless ideology, when you know that China is murdering you with exactly the opposite principles, and America's no free trading company, Europe is no free trading company, Brazil is no free trading country. Well, what country on earth is? But we chose that because it is so easy. All you've got to do is say all the cars bought under a government contract will be made in Australia. That's all you have to do, and Paul, that's why we chose today and how we chose to go about it. But you just keep going like this. The Prime Minister has announced all of this development. None of them are make-money projects. Not one is a make-money project. They are all absorb money projects or assistance for some big foreign corporation.
Yeah, a very good mate of mine who's got a way bigger brain than mine is all about that we should be searching for unicorn projects, for ideas that eventually will, as you say, bring back trade, push forward investment. And I think it's a great point that you made about that Australian car industry, because, look, you know that I'm an all-in Holden man and I bleed red and my tears are red at the moment because, of course, they're completely gone and the dealers are being screwed over as well. It felt like we were beginning to understand the hole that we had dug for ourselves when we were forced to wait in line to see what China may or may not produce for us, which may or may not work for us. But we've heard very little from government about actually harnessing that Buy Australia. It's right there.
Paul, let me give you a classic example of a country driven by ideology. Both sides of that parliament are driven by a free market ideology that nobody else in the world ascribes to. Let me give you a classic example. At United Petroleum, they cut the price of petrol in North Queensland by nearly 40%. They're great people. United Petroleum reopened the ethanol plant at Dalby. If you want to kill germs, Listerine is ethanol. If you want to kill germs, you use ethanol. It will kill bacteria like nothing else on earth will. He reopens the plant. He's producing 60 million litres. Now, one of the four biggest hospitals in Northern Australia, three biggest hospitals in Northern Australia, has got zero disinfectant. They can't get any. We're at the mercy now of COVID-19. So he opens the plant. Do you know that the giant supermarket chains, the federal government, the state government, all of the health authorities refused to buy any aseptic from him, bought it from China. China, where the COVID virus came from. But this is just how much this country is hooked on free trade. And unless you unhook and you start building some development projects, like the rail line to the Galilee or Hell's Gate Dam, and if you're looking for new technology, Hell's Gate Dam will produce 7% of Australia's petrol, nearly 2% of Australia's electricity with zero emissions. New technology. They feed the CO2 to algae. And they're doing it all over the place in Israel and in America now as well. So new technology, you know, here it is, Hell's Gate is just sitting there, but it's installed because the state government's putting up 400 barriers and the federal government is not prepared to smash through them. Yeah. And so the rail line to the Galilee is stopped. You know, the world's coming to an end because of coal mining. Like, we raised the temperature on Earth 1 degree Celsius in 100 years. Geez, Paul, I'm lying awake every night worried about that. I mean, the temperature in Canberra today changed 14 degrees Celsius in 100 years. It's changed 1 degree Celsius. But you know, I mean, we are, in fact, producing or proposing to produce petrol and electricity with zero emissions because we need the CO2 to feed the algae. Now, the rail line into the Galilee, just like you're talking about $50,000 million a year of production, and all you have to do is build a tiny little 300-kilometre line. Poor Adani, or whatever his name is, he's been 7 years and he still hasn't laid a sleeper. But we don't want him. We want this line to open up all of the Galilee, not one mine, but all of the Galilee. And my frustration is we built 6,000 kilometres of railway line in 20 years in Queensland. We opened up a coal industry. We're a coal importing country in the 60s. And we became the biggest coal exporting state on earth by building those railway lines. Yeah. There's not been a kilometre railway line built in the 30 years since we were stabbed in the back.
Taking the piss they do. Bob Carter, thank you, mate. Let's have another chat into the future. You're looking good, mate. All the best.